Welcome, junior champions, to Grit Fantasy Role-Playing Game. Grit, 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 grit.
Hey everybody, Jeremy here from NoBot Studios. Welcome to another Grit Fantasy RPG video. Today I'll be talking about playing Grit with kids. And I have a very special guest, Ryan James, who is the master editor of Grit Fantasy RPG, designer and writer himself. Hey, welcome, Ryan.
What is happening, man? So happy to be here. This is an exciting video that I just can't wait to be a part of it.
Yeah, I mean, we've been talking about this for a while.
We have.
This is something, I think it's really kind of a cool thing to talk about because I don't know if a lot of games really get this kind of attention for kids specifically.
Yep.
But from your experiences, I think it's just something great to talk about. So
yeah, I agree. I mean, I feel like a lot of times role-playing games, maybe they're, there's specific ones that are geared towards kids. Right. But I wonder how often there's a game that wasn't necessarily designed, because you didn't design Grit to be made for children.
I didn't. And, for years and years, I was clueless about that. I didn't even think about that. And then when you started playing it with your kids, I was like, what? Like, it was like very heartwarming.
It's the perfect system for them because it's so the simplicity of it, which has been the hallmark of your design philosophy from the beginning. It just lends itself so perfectly to rules getting out of the way and storytelling taking center stage. And how perfect is that for a child? Kids are, I mean, of course, kids can play D&D, kids can play Pathfinder, kids can play heavier, larger games. Of course they can. But when they're just starting out and you're just introducing them to the hobby and they're young, my youngest is now 8 and she is, loves them. All my kids love RPGs, but the best thing about them playing is when they don't have to constantly ask me rules questions and they can just be in the game. And Grit has been the perfect system of all the ones I've tried for that exactly because of that hallmark simplicity that you have instilled in it.
Yeah, that's awesome. Like, so what's the age range of your kids now?
Yeah. So Cameron is my oldest. He's 13. And Lexi is my middle daughter, and she's 11. And then Scarlett is my youngest daughter, and she's 8. So we've been playing Grit for a year or two. So Scarlett was, like 6, 6 going on 7. Lexi was 9. Cameron was 11 when we first started playing, and they took to it, easily.
And you were playing other games before Grit, right?
Yep, we tried ICRPG, which they liked, but it was a little too much for them. I would say there was things they really enjoyed about it, and again, they took to it, and they didn't notice. They weren't like, this is too hard. But you definitely, every single time something would happen, they would say, well, what do I do? What do I roll? What die do I roll now? What am I trying to get? And then before that, we did the tiny dungeon system, and that worked really well. Certainly, it was very simple because you're literally just rolling 2d6 most of the time. And so that was pretty simple. However, it didn't give them, there wasn't enough of it there for them to chew on. And Grit has been the perfect, kind of like baby bear's porridge or whatever, whatever's like just right. And like the sweet spot for them where it's very simple and it's mechanical implementation, but there's enough in character creation to get them excited about playing,
Right. And they get the idea of the focus dice well enough, right? Like
I mean that. So yes, the answer is yes. So I'll just say in ICRPG, their favorite thing about ICRPG was the hero coin. Okay, they loved that hero coin, and so they always wanted to use that, something where they could re-roll, right? They could spend this thing to re-roll, and they got it for clever play. And then I introduced them to Grit, and the hero coin is gone, and they were first like, oh no. But then the focus dice is almost like having 3 hero coins in a way. You're not re-rolling your roll, but you get to do all these different things with them. And it's so easy because it's all tied to a D4, a D6, and a D8. And yeah, they're like pigs and shit for the focus dice. They love the focus dice. I mean, who doesn't love the focus dice? But yes, the kids definitely like having them.
And for kids, I mean, thinking to myself at that age, like the dice are like little gems, aren't they? Like to have those out in front of you and you can spend those on cool stuff. Like, it just seems like a really great thing.
It totally is. Well, and it breaks up a little of the monotony too, because, sometimes it's fun for them to roll like a handful of dice, and you don't necessarily get that in Grit because you're rolling the D12 all the time. But so it kind of breaks up that monotony a little bit for them, where they have at their disposal, whenever they choose, they can roll one of those little gems. And it's always exciting for them, like every time, because they don't only roll it when they miss. Sometimes they'll roll it to add damage, to something. If they're not using it for their lineage ability or a piece of loot they found, So there's all these cool different ways to use these things, and they're a finite, limited resource. And so there's just that inherent, like, I don't want to spend this feeling, so it's like, I want to wait till the right time to unleash that. And I think they latch on to that feeling. That's not something they have to internally remember. It's just a feeling that's evoked in them. You know what I mean? So it's not a rule they have to, when can I use this? They know when they can use it. They now, now the decision's gone, or I'm sorry, now the rule is gone, and it's just the decision space they're left with. And so it gives them a feeling of empowerment. I get to decide when I do this. And, and I also get to decide what I do in the story in general. And I don't have to be like, how do I do that? It's just, it's gone over like gangbusters.
So do you think that's maybe one of the best parts of the game for them? Like, what do you think, aside from that, if it is that, what the best part of Grit is for them?
If you're talking mechanically, then I think a combination of the focus dice and the just rolling a D12 is the best thing, because it's so simple. But if you're talking about where they have the most fun, like narratively, it's in building their characters 100%. They have so much fun picking a new lineage, and what does the ability of this lineage do? And now I get to decide my aspect values. Cameron's been calling them buffs and debuffs, He's like, all right, what buffs am I going to give this guy? Okay, this guy's going to get +2 in might, but he's not going to be, I don't want to talk a lot this game, so he's going to be a -2 in command. And then I just get to pick another 2 to put on. The other ones are 0. And it's like so fun for them to do. And they always draw their character every time. They draw something, and it's just a blast for them to make their character. It's almost more fun for them to make their character than it is to play the game in some ways. They have so much fun in character creation.
And I think that's a great sign, because honestly, that is where some of the magic happens, right? Like even with adults. But I remember as a kid, we made so many characters. Sometimes we didn't even play those characters. We just made them.
Right. I mean, that's the first foray into flexing that creative muscle. You know what I mean? Before you decide what this character does and how they live, you get to decide, you get to just create them from nothing. And now this is, you have this, like, my kids, at least, I see them in real time having this like connection to them. Like, this is me, and they're proud of it, and they're excited to see what's going to happen. And because of that, they're terrified to do anything crazy because they don't want it to die, And so that's been a little bit of a challenge to get them to be okay with failing. And that's another thing that's not necessarily only exclusive to Grit, but it's a really good thing about gaming with children. One of the best things you can do to teach a child how to is teach a child how to lose, And so whether it's board games or RPGs, It's a really good skill to cultivate early. How to handle the feeling of loss and failure and still maintain that social maturity at the table so you don't ruin a game for everyone else.
Yeah.
And grit has really helped them with that because,
That's great.
at first, I'll present them with a scenario, and I'll say, okay, there's a monster up ahead and he hasn't seen you yet. What do you do? And they'll be like, I'm going to fly up into the trees, cause there's like a little piece of loot they have that lets them like tootle on up there. And so they roll for it because you roll for everything in grit to see if it happens, and it fails. And now the monster sees them. And, initially when this was happening, it was like, I just failed and now I'm going to cry because the monster sees me and I'm probably going to die. When really it's like, listen, I know it feels like a failure because you had to do what you wanted to do. You needed to roll the right number and you didn't. So that feels like a failure. But really what's happening is all we're doing is we're finding out what happens next in the story together. That's all we're doing.
Right.
And once they grasp that concept, it opens up their imagination to then take risks and do anything they want because they don't feel like my decisions are either success or failure, even though that's how mechanically they're drawn up. But really, it's just like the story's going to go left or it's going to go right. And your dice and your decisions are going to tell us what happens and we're just going to see it. So grit has really helped them understand the implications of, what I'm quoting, unquoting success or failure.
Yeah, that's great. Have you had any characters actually die that they were running?
Let me think. I'm really easy on them when I'm GMing. I don't know. I don't think so. I don't think any of them have ever died. I should introduce that at some point, but I like to be so easy on them as a GM, because like they haven't met that, what I just talked about, they haven't mastered that skill 100%. They haven't mastered the skill of what, how do I feel when I fail? So if I were to kill them or allow them to die, I think it might, at this stage, it might ruin their night.
Yeah, probably not a good move.
Yeah.
Find some kind of way around it.
Yeah, I always just, I'll like, if I roll a 12 and they roll a 1, I'll create some sort of intervention that happens that makes them
modifies it.
Not die. You know what I mean? Yeah.
Right. So, have you had to make any modifications to the system to run it specifically for the kids?
At first, when I first played it with them, they loved the hero coin so much. I just brought the hero coin over, and I allowed them to recover focus dice and stuff like that. Which actually the focus dice recovery is in the easy rules. Of grit. So I wouldn't say I added anything other than I just brought the hero coin over for the first couple of plays because they loved it so much. But no, I think the way the rules are as written, I don't really like messing with it because all we're doing is we're being imaginative and we're creating a story. And you've given me a specific framework to do that in. So it's like, I'm going to use that. And I want to flex the muscle of the system as much as possible. So no, if you pick this up, you don't have to change a thing. Maybe check out the easy rules if your kids are not, familiar with role playing, because the easy rules really do make it easy. And certainly if you're a GM, you can always fudge the roll or do whatever kind of stuff like that you want. But I have not had to change the rules or dumb it down or anything like that with them ever.
That's awesome. And by the way, for anybody listening here, the easy rules that he's speaking of are in the optional rules section in the GM's guide. So there's just a little section that says easy mode, and you could follow that. There's a number of options there.
Yeah, there's a lot of cool stuff in there. We've used a couple of them, but we don't anymore. I'll say that. We did for a while, and I just kind of took it out after a while. I just kind of because like I said, they're learning every time they play. They get a little bit more adept at handling the implications of failure. You know, they're not 100% there, but they're close.
Right.
They're closer every time.
Do you think age has something to do with that too, or is it just generally just like
I think it does, only in terms of experience, though, not like just strictly age. Because I'll say this, Scarlett, who's my youngest, she's like, all kids have a different emotional threshold or barrier, or a different emotional trigger. You know,
right?
like what might trigger Lexi just won't trigger Scarlett. You know what I mean? So that's not necessarily attached to age. However, I do feel that Cameron, being the oldest, has the most experience with failure and with games. So he is probably the most comfortable with it happening because his brain expects it more.
Right.
Where Scarlett doesn't expect it as much. However, her personality is such that it's able to handle it a little better than maybe, Lexi might be. And not that Lexi handles it badly at all, because she doesn't. I just mean it's not necessarily age that I've noticed that matters. It's more just, they're just different people. And so it's that seems like it matters more than necessarily their age.
So kind of know your audience, right?
Exactly. It's almost like I say this all the time, and just in parenting in general. If you try to parent all your children the exact same way, you're going to have one child who is great and the other ones are going to be miserable because, children need different levels of parenting because they're different people. They have different emotional thresholds and different personality quirks and different ways that they are happy and sad. And you know what I mean? Their brains all work differently. So and again, it's a good technique to learn parenting while play, because you see the good and bad behaviors come out when there's success or failure.
Yeah, that's awesome to hear. And it's fascinating to me because I don't have that experience of parenting, so
right.
I'm so grateful for you to give me that insight.
Yeah, for sure.
So another question: do you run mostly one shots, or is it like an episode based thing? Like, how do your sessions go?
That's a great question, because it's like a weird hybrid. You know how you used to run your Necromancer campaign? That's kind of what we do. So like I said, my kids get really attached to their characters. They love them. And so I will do one shots with them. So the stories are not at all connected in any way when we play, but they will oftentimes use their same characters.
Okay.
You know what I mean? So like Cameron had this Ruck War character. What was his name?
Was it Rook?
Rook. You're right. It was Rook.
It was Rook.
Yeah. Rook the Ruck War. Yeah, right. He used Rook for several sessions, but none of them were connected in any way. It was just like it reminded me a lot of your Necromancer stuff. So he would keep his loot from session to session. If he found loot, he would just start the next session with some loot. And that it's a fun way for them to feel like they got some cool stuff, and start with it. But I never connect. I don't usually ever connect the stories because we don't play regularly. We play whenever we can find the time. So, they'll just forget.
Right. Now, did you set up like a base world at all, or is it kind of just ambiguous, kind of like how I run it? It's
exactly how you run it. It's very ambiguous. It's just kind of generic general fantasy, and I let the beautiful artwork in your game kind of dictate the tone of what we're doing. So they'll joke with me that I always start them in a tavern, which is typical tropey, stuff, and that's kind of a little reason why I do it. It's kind of on the nose. But then they're going off into the forest, or they're finding a nice glade, or, they're in a castle village, or, just typical standard fantasy fare. But,
right.
I have all of your artwork on tokens, and I populate the game with all these tokens. And so I feel like we all get this, evocation of like what the world is just by looking at your artwork.
Oh, that's awesome. And it's good to hear that you're using physical things on the table, right? Like, you're using the tokens and maybe some other add-in terrain.
So here's what's funny. I have all of this wonderful terrain. I have so much terrain that I've amassed over the years that I use for different RPGs. I got like actual rollout maps. I've got like tiles that make up maps. I've got, actual like cutouts that are like laminated that you can populate a bunch of stuff. And I just used the cardboard stuff that you made.
Oh yeah, that's cool.
Jeremy put together this grit kit, we call it, for convention play, and it's just a cardboard box that he's like cut up, and he's got a bunch of different rocks. On the other side of the rocks are trees, and then there's water that's just blue construction paper, and then there's bridges, and on the other side of the bridges is like a walkway, stony walk pathway, and
Right.
it again it's your artwork, so it fits the tone of the art on your tokens. And so I would love it at some point if you could, if you ever made some drawings that could be applied to terrain that would fit because you're going in this game, I feel like you're going for, this, you don't have a setting or a world inherent to the book. It's all based on the artwork. So if there was terrain artwork that I could print off and use, oh my gosh, it would be the greatest thing at my table. That's all I would use.
That jogs my memory. I have had that on the list for a while. Other things going on.
Right. What else is everything's on the list at this point? Yeah.
Right. But yeah, that's so good to hear that you're using that and the kids are liking it. So that's awesome.
They love it. They love it so much.
So another question, how long are the sessions that you run?
Yeah, that's another great question. They typically tend to go a little bit longer. And the reason and when I say longer, I mean like 2.5, 3 hours.
Really?
Yeah. And the reason behind that is the kids are slower than an adult who is familiar with RPGs. And when I say slower, I don't mean slower. I guess what I mean is you'll ask them what they want to do and they take a more of a beat. They're like, yeah, what do I want to do? And then they'll look at their character and they'll look at the situation because, they want to make sure that whatever they do is so cool, and so they take their time with what's cool. And if there's a puzzle, they're all like collaboratively working together to try to make sure they get just right. They're very rarely just flying off the cuff. And so they're more in their heads cerebrally about it. And it might sound like a bad thing. It's not. They have a blast. It's like a party. When we do this, it's like an evening. It's not like, oh, we got an hour and a half, let's do that. Like that's what we would do with adults with grit. Right. Yeah, but with kids, it turns into an evening. And it's awesome because grit is not, you don't typically think of a one shot of grit running 3+ hours. You typically don't think of that happening.
Yeah.
But with the kids, it does happen. And it's so much fun. It's really, really fun. Now I think that part of that is that's just my experience, right? These are my kids and my kids tend to be a little bit slower as they go and they have fun with that. But I'm certain that other kids would have a different experience.
Right. And just, to put it out there too, the games that, Ryan and I run are usually like an hour and a half to 2 hours on average, right? Is that kind of
absolutely.
Right?
Yep.
If it's long, it's 2.5 hours.
I feel like 2.5 hours is like, oh man, this is going a long time.
Yeah. When you get to that point, you're like, okay, it's ready. We're done.
Yeah. But with the kids, it's different because, they're really trying so hard. And it's cool to see that, I like to see their brains active and, working so I can, and I want to reward that, not like hurrying them along or anything.
Yeah. Just let it flower. Right.
Right.
Yeah, I think that's awesome. Let me see if there's anything else. So what do you think the kind of pivoting here, but what would be the minimum age you would play with grit for kids?
That's another great question. So the video that, if whoever's watching this video, the very intro opening video that all the kids are like, grit, 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 grit. The ages of kids there, the youngest there is 5. She was 5. And I think she was 5. Maybe she was.
So
Maybe she was
able
six.
to
But dude, she
kind of
took to it. She was almost the most creative one at the table. Like I
really.
expected to have to hold her hand the whole time and be like, "Here's what you can do, sweetheart. Roll this die. You know, add your." I had them make their characters before they came over, and they spent again so much time in that, and they loved them so much. And then by the time she got there, I was like explaining the rules, which don't take a long time to explain. But when you're 5 years old, it's probably like, okay, he's been talking for 5 minutes now. This is getting boring. She was locked onto me, watching me mouth agape, like taking it all in, and she was great at it.
That's
So
awesome.
it's a testament to your system that it can be taught to a 5-year-old and they can have so much fun. And that was the most fun night for those kids. They had a ball. We get them Slurpees, from 7-Eleven. Yeah.
Slurpees is a big thing, man.
Oh, it's great. We go out, we make it a night, we go out, we get them Slurpees, and then we play. And then, I bought those two friends, I bought them their own set of dice for grit with us, and so they
Nice.
had their own set of dice, and they got their character they made, and they got their Slurpee, and they're like, they've never played an RPG, so they're like, okay, what are we doing? And it's just collaborative storytelling. And by the end of it, they were like, this was the most fun I've ever had. It was so great because of grit. So
That's awesome.
yeah, man.
Yeah, kids are just there, man. They're just present and they're imaginative and they have nothing like holding them back with that,
Yeah, right.
It's awesome. And I have to say, the artwork that you shared that they did for their characters is just awesome. And you also sent me these videos of them explaining their characters, like Lexi and
Oh
Cameron.
yeah, that's right. I remember that.
Those are so awesome to see, man. It's just like, I just remember Lexi's like, this is my character's a froom.
Yeah.
It just was so endearing.
Well, that's what I mean. They really get excited. Like, I made this character. That's what I think excites them so much. They're like, I get to, typically you play a board game and it's like, here's your character you get to be. And certainly you can do that with a pre-gen, but when you create your own character and it's yours and it's you and you made the decisions and now you get to play with them, there's something that just like sparks this excitement in their eyes and they just can't wait to do it. And so that definitely happens with my kids.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
So what do you think the most popular lineage is?
For Cameron, he loves the Ruck War. He's been a couple Ruck Wars. He had that one Rook that we talked about a minute ago. I think he's had another one. He likes Cameron typically goes for like the fighter guy type, so he likes to pick, like a Ruck War or a giant or, even he's been a human before and he likes to just be the guy that like has the big sword and goes in and swings the big club and, does the damage. You know what I mean? He really likes that. Lexi's always looking for something that's, daintier and cute. So she, likes to go to an elf or a quickling or a froom, those kind of lineages. And Scarlet is a mixed bag. She likes being goofy characters, so she'll pick a hoblin, or she likes to pretend that she's a different animal, so she'll pick a wildern. And it's just all over the map. Cameron was a dwarf, I think, at one point. He had this really cool dwarf character, which again had this huge hammer,
Right.
Yeah, it's just really cool to watch them gravitate toward these things.
Yeah, that's awesome. So was there a favorite adventure?
My gosh, we've done so many. I think my favorite adventures are the ones that the kids run. So Cameron and Lexi have both run adventures. Cameron's run a few. We went to Grand Con, which is a local convention here in Michigan, in Grand Rapids. And Cameron and I ran Grit for each other. And he GM'd one for me and I GM'd one for him.
That's so awesome.
It was a blast. And he's so good at it. It's really fun.
Natural.
Yeah, exactly. He's a natural.
Lexi ran her own too, right?
She did. Yeah, it was this really cool scenario where the party was like split in two and we're each going up we had to like race up this mountain. And it was like a mountain race. And then along the way we would get attacked, by these what did she use? They were what are the guys with the big furry faces? the grit monster.
Thwiggles?
A Thwiggle, yeah, there was like Thwiggles all over the place attacking us, and they would slow us down, and if we could take care of them before the other group, then we'd go on fast. And it was this really cool, left back and forth kind of a thing. And again, she just loved being the architect of that,
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, it was very
Good to
fun.
hear. That you kind of covered my last question there. I was going to ask about the kids running their own games.
Oh yeah, they loved it.
So also they're using the story builders for this too, right?
Yes.
They were getting into that.
Sometimes like they'll think of their own ideas, but yeah, Cameron especially, I'll open the story builder for him and he'll just like pick keywords that he likes and then he's off to the races. We roll together on the story builder and he'll write down the little keywords and then he's like, all right, I'm going to go. And then he'll like go to a table behind me and he'll start writing. He'll be like, I got it. Yeah, and it's been very, very cool.
Oh, that's great. Oh, yeah, this is so good, man. I'm glad we're doing this here. That's all that I have to ask. Like,
Yeah.
is there anything else you want to kind of talk about with this? Or,
I think I think what I would say is if you're looking for an RPG to play with your kids, I think one of the main things that you're probably looking for is something that you can get up and running quickly because you have kids, so you probably don't have unlimited time. And you're looking for some way that they can flex their creativity and you can relay the rules to them in a way that takes, a handful of minutes. And Grit is, in my opinion, the game for you because I have mostly, I guess it's a split with me now. I typically think about playing it with people like Jeremy and my adult friends, but it's my go-to game to play with my kids. If my kids want to play a game, if Cameron asks for an RPG, I'm going to pull Grit down because it's just so simple. Everyone knows it already. I don't have to, they might, if we haven't played it in a couple months, they might be like, is this the one with the opposed rolls and the focus dice? Yeah. And they're like, okay, got it. And we're back into it and it's easy. So I think if you're looking for an RPG that works well with kids, you can do a lot worse than Grit.
Oh, that's good to hear, man. Thanks for the promo on that, man.
Heck yeah.
Awesome. Okay, so we're going to have a couple more guests here.
Ooh.
Yeah, we're going to have the kids on, at least Cameron and Lexi, right?
Yeah. I was thinking Cameron's going to be down here, and wouldn't it be cool to hear from the kids themselves, how they think and what they feel?
Yeah, that's awesome.
I'm gonna hop off and I'm gonna let you take it away with Cameron.
All right, sounds good.
Sound cool? All right, see you, Jeremy.
See ya. Hey, Cameron, how you doing?
Great. How are you doing, Mr. Jeremy?
Pretty good. Hey, thanks for doing this little interview about Grit Fantasy RPG.
Nope.
You've been playing Grit with your dad and your two sisters. Like, have you been having fun with that?
Oh yeah, I love Grit. It's such a good RPG game.
Cool. And you're running your own games too, right?
Yeah, I write them down and then just play with it.
And you're playing online with your friends, or it kind of in person with that?
I've been doing it in person with my family.
Okay. So what do you like most about Grit?
What I like most about Grit is like the aspect values and the focus dice.
Yeah, the focus dice are pretty cool.
Mm-hmm.
What's your favorite like kind of character to play? Like, I think your dad was saying you like Ruck Wars.
Yeah, I like the bigger characters and like the more durable characters.
Right. So you like the big fighter type that gets in there and like does all the combat.
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool. So do you like being a player or do you like running games?
I like being a player because I like exploring as well as fighting, but I also like exploring a lot too, and I like being the explorer.
Yeah, exploration is cool. And I think your dad does a lot of that in his games, right? Like you go out and go out to all those interesting places and find some weird monsters and loot and stuff.
Yeah.
What's your favorite kind of artifact that you found?
I like the really cool weapons like like magical, like magic hammers or like
Yeah, like the Dread Hammer.
yeah, I love the dread hammer.
Ah, that's cool. Yeah, it's a good one. So what's your favorite character?
The one as I played as. I like being like this little like gnome TikTok.
Oh, cool. A gnome. That's awesome.
Yeah.
So you get some extra artifacts with those. Like what kind of stuff did your gnome have?
Since it's a gnome, it can like hold like different kinds of stuff than like a big giant can hold. It's
Oh,
like
cool.
it can hold like little like trinkets, like ninja stars or something like that.
Cool. So what adventure can you explain kind of what adventure was your favorite that you ran with or that you played in with your dad?
So one that I like that one that Lexi made, my sister.
Oh yeah.
The sled races.
What happened with your character with that? What was the story?
It was like you were like on like two teams and you were like going up like a sled hill and you would like face monsters.
Did you guys end up winning at the end? Did you make it?
Yeah, we made it. We beat the enemy team.
Ah, good. Awesome. Well, are you going to be playing any games anytime soon? Do you have anything planned or?
I really hope to.
Oh, that's cool. And you're going to be at Nerdfest maybe, right? This year?
Yeah, I will. I'll be working the
Cool.
wheel.
Oh, that's right. That's your job.
Yeah.
Cool. I'll see you there then.
Yeah, I'll see you there.
So, well, thanks for the interview. I will. I guess we'll move on to Lexi next.
Yeah,
So
no problem.
I appreciate you talking with me a little bit. So thanks.
You're welcome. Goodbye.
See ya. Hey, Lexi, how you doing?
I'm doing good.
I haven't talked to you in a long time, but thanks for doing this interview.
Yeah, I haven't talked to you in a long time, and you're welcome.
Okay, so we're talking about the grit game that you play with your dad and your brother and your sister. So what's your favorite part of playing the game?
I really like that you can be creative and stuff, and it's very adventurous, and it's really fun.
You like rolling those dice?
Yeah.
I think I've seen some of your artwork too, and I really love what you do with that. And so I guess you really like kind of drawing your characters.
Yeah. I think it's really fun to like create your character.
Yeah, what's your favorite part of that?
I like how you can like decide like what power is and what like things it has to do and like the weapons and stuff. It's really fun.
Yeah, it is cool.
Yeah.
Do you have like a favorite like type of character that's like the Froom or the elf or
I was the Froom and the elf, I think. I really liked being the elf, and like I made my character really small, and I made it like to do friendship bracelets and stuff.
That's cool.
Yeah.
So you had lots of adventures with that character?
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool. Was there a favorite thing that happened during one of your adventures? Like, can you think of anything that was really great?
I can't really remember a specific thing, but when I was an elf, I remember like I would be like sneaky and fit into small spaces and stuff, and that helped us a lot.
Yeah, that can be handy.
Yeah.
Sneaking around.
Yeah.
Was there a monster that you remember the most?
I think there was don't really remember like a specific monster, but I remember a bunch of monsters that we had to fight. It was just like a bunch of big monsters, and then some were small that we had to like fight off, but some of them were like small and like they like took not long to defeat, but some of them were like huge and they took like a bunch of attacks to defeat.
Yeah, they're the bigger they are, the tougher they are, right?
Yeah.
So you've run some games yourself.
Oh yeah, I have.
So tell me about that. How did that go?
So I made one that was like you had to like find gems, and like we had to climb up like a mountain and there was like another team trying to like get to them too. So they had to like race them down, and then they would get like into a ship, and they would have to find it and then put them in like treasure chests to get the prize.
Oh, wow. Were they like magic gems, or were they just like...
They're like you had to like
Okay.
you had to have them to open the chest, I think.
Ah, okay. So there was kind of like they were kind of like keys in a way.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. That sounds cool.
Yeah.
So did everybody play that game? Like your like Natalie and your dad and
Yes.
your brother and sister?
Yes.
Okay.
Scarlett, Cameron, Natalie, and my dad all played it, and I think they liked it. I mean, I
Yeah,
hope so.
I've been hearing good things about it, so it sounds awesome.
Yeah.
And I got to play with you in a game at Nerdfest last year.
That was really fun. Like, even like I was like with like grown-ups, but it was still really fun.
It was so good to have you there.
Yeah.
I'm glad you played the game with us. That was great.
Yeah, it was really fun.
I think your character's name was Choggle.
Oh yeah. That was funny.
He was I think she was a gnome, maybe.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was fun. So do you think Grit is good for kids?
Yes, I think it's really good. It's very fun to be like adventurous and creative
Yeah.
stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, that's the best thing about role-playing games, I think.
Yeah,
So-
they're really fun.
But that's all I have to ask you, though. So
Okay.
I wanted to say thank you for doing this little interview. I really appreciate it. And
You're welcome.
hopefully I get to see you at Nerdfest soon.
Yeah, hopefully I get to see you too.
Okay, take care. Have a good night.
You too. Bye.
Bye. And we're back.
Oh yeah.
That went really well. It was so
Yeah?
fun.
They had good stuff to say? That's cool, man.
Yeah.
Like I said, it comes through to them, you know. They love the game. They have so much fun with it.
It's very endearing and heartwarming to me. Like I've said that before, I know, but like just to know that your kids are enjoying this is like just a next level of appreciation for, putting this game together and working with you on this game. And like now that I know your kids are enjoying it, that's just awesome.
Right? Isn't that it's a crazy feeling because you didn't set out to design this for kids like we talked about. But
No.
look how much enjoyment they're having with this thing you made. This thing you created for a bunch of nerds like us are, being enjoyed by a new generation of people. And they
Right.
just think it's freaking awesome.
And I was their age when I started, So that to me is like, wow, it's kind of mind-boggling a little bit.
Dude, one day when they tell their story of how they got into games, Grit is going to be a huge part of that beginning journey for them.
That's awesome.
And isn't that cool?
That's so cool. It is cool. Well, man, thanks so much for, taking the time to do this. And I really appreciate you giving your insight on everything.
Yeah, man, it's been so much fun. I mean, I love Grit, if anyone loves it to the even 10% as much as you, I think it's me. I love this game. I've put a lot of work into this game myself, and the kids have, really been a champion of, of you and it, and they love it. They tell all their friends about it. They're always trying to get people to play it. Their friends and family, and it's just a real testament to what you did here. So I think it's really cool.
So good to hear, man. So good to hear. And it's really nice to have them in the book.
Yeah, seeing their name in print? Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
That's the coolest thing ever. They, what I mean?
Yeah.
They're like rock stars.
Got to honor them and honor their characters. And
Yeah.
we're all set. So
You got it.
hopefully you can get some galaxies in there.
Oh yeah, they're gonna love that for sure. Yeah, man. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, thanks. And we're just going to wrap it up. So everybody, thanks for stopping in and listening to this. Appreciate it. Hope that was helpful to you. And hey, as always, keep rolling those dice.